What up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Johnny. I run a video production company called Reverb Films. We're in the office right now. Today, I'm gonna be walking you guys through a little lighting setup that we're gonna be doing and a budget lighting setup at that. So we have never done this before. No practice.
Practice. We sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice.
Just a cold run. We're just going into it, and hopefully it's gonna work. Maybe it won't, but that's just part of the journey, and you're gonna see it as it goes. So we're gonna be using 4 Aputure MC RGBs. These are $90 RGB lights. They're LED. They're battery powered. Everything is in the unit, and so we use these a lot for like background light, and for if we're doing like a run and gun, we'll maybe use it for a hair light or something. However, we've never used these for a full lighting setup. We've definitely never used these as a key light. So we'll see what happens. I don't really know. Might turn out bad, but hey, that's part of the fun. So the lighting setup we're gonna be doing today is gonna be sort of like a traditional 3-point lighting setup. We're gonna be doing a key light, and then we're gonna be doing a hair light or a kicker light, and then we're gonna see how it goes. We might use one of the lights as a fill light, or we might use it as kind of like a background light, just depending on what the shadow side of the subject's face looks like. And subject is cameraman right here. That'll be who's gonna be in front of the camera for this. But yeah, so we'll kind of see how it goes, but regardless, we are definitely gonna be having a key light, and we're definitely gonna be having a kicker light. Okay, so we have the C300 set up right here. This is gonna be where our A-cam is, where we're gonna be basically framing everything up for the lighting setup. We already rolled with what it looked like beforehand with no lights. That is with the house lights on, with no other lights going on. And I mean, honestly, it didn't look terrible, but I'm really hoping that we can improve this and make it look more cinematic, maybe a little bit more moody. We'll see how it goes. But basically, this is kind of a budget lighting setup. I mean, like I said, each light is 90 bucks. So altogether, 4 lights, that's like $360 for hopefully a pretty good setup. First up, we'll start setting up the key light. I think for the key light, I'm gonna use 2 of these, just so that we're getting as much power as possible. So we're gonna set up key light on frame right of the camera, on the subject's kind of far side of his left face, but camera right, and then we're gonna go from there. The cool thing about these MCs is they have a couple different mounting options. There's a 1/4-20 mounting point on the bottom, so you can use that for a tripod or a lighting stand or something like that. And then there's also these little magnetic things right here. So they're pretty strong magnets. So that's a pretty cool, like quick and easy setup. For the key light setup, I think we're gonna throw in a C stand and maybe just rig it up so that 2 of the MCs are next to each other. I don't know how this is gonna work yet, but like I said, we're just kind of going for it live. So let's do this. Let's see what kind of mounts we got. Here we go. This is what we need. So I think we're gonna throw the key lights on one of these C stands with a grip arm and a grip head. We should be able to throw 2 of them on there. I'm gonna bring this guy over and get it set up. So I'm just gonna throw a couple little, oh, this is gonna fit? Yeah, it fit, okay. So we can throw 2 of these in here. There we go. And then we can always adjust. Gotta remember righty tighty, lefty loosey. All right, so those are lined up for the most part, kind of. We're gonna move this in now. I think I'm gonna just set it up right here. It's gonna be pretty far to the left side of our subject's face. And I think that'll create, just because we're working with limited light, that'll create a little bit of a nicer kind of hard shadow cinematic look. I'm gonna have Ryan, our subject, sit in a moment. I wanna first set up our hair light, which is gonna go on this seat stand. And we don't need a grip head for this because there is a 1/4-20 screw on this C-stand arm, so we can just throw this MC on here. Okay, we're gonna put our hair light on the opposite side of the key light. So we're kind of getting a little diagonal setup here. I think we're ready to kind of take our first look. So I'm gonna cut the house lights first. We're gonna roll on the camera so that we can kind of see the progression of this. I think I'm gonna have Ryan sit in now. So I'm gonna take it from you.
Caught it, we're good.
I don't know if I caught that. We're gonna have Ryan sit in now. I'm gonna turn on our key lights here. We're gonna go to 5600. One of the things that I didn't mention that the MCs come with is these cool little diffusion domes. We are definitely gonna be using these for the key lights at least. They're kind of just like a little silicone rubber setup that go on the lights, just kind of go over it, and that will soften up the key a little bit. You don't necessarily need to have extra diffusion. All right, so throwing the next one on now, and then we probably won't do it for the hair light just because the hair light will be lower intensity, so it probably won't be that harsh anyway. All right, so both of those are on at 5600. I will take the camera back, Ryan. I'm gonna turn on the hair light. So hair light's going on right now. I think for this, we're gonna put it at 3200 just for now. We might adjust, but we'll see how that looks. So let's see what we're working with. All right, that's not too bad, actually. So we have a nice key on frame right. What I'm thinking is it's a little too far back, so I think I'm gonna move it back just so we get a little bit more on the shadow side of his face. The hair light's looking pretty good. My only thought there is maybe we'll bring down the intensity a little bit, and then we'll figure out if we need a fill on the left side, or if maybe we can use this last MC as some type of cool little backlight or throw in some RGB in there. So we're gonna move this more this way now. So that way we're getting a little bit more on the shadow side of his face, and so we're just softening it a little bit just by pulling the light back. And then last thing I'm gonna do with the hair light, like I said, it's maybe a bit too intense. And I also am curious to see what it looks like at 5600. So right now, we're at about 75% at 3200 Kelvin. So I'm gonna bring it up to 56 and then 5600 Kelvin. And then I'm gonna lower it to, let's say 50%, and we'll see how that looks. So that's looking pretty nice. Just looking at it, I think I do like 3200 on the hair light, so I'm gonna readjust that. And then, you know, just from looking at this, I think that we're good to not have that last MCB fill. Okay, so these are gonna move in tiny bit more, just increase that intensity a bit. And then we're gonna keep hair light at 50%, but we're gonna go to 3200 Kelvin instead of 5600. And we're gonna pull back a little bit, just so we're getting maybe a little bit more hitting on his shoulder and around the side of his head and everything else. So let's look at that one more time, and then I will adjust the last MC. Yeah, that's looking great. Ryan, could I have you slide to your right a tiny bit? Perfect, great. I'm feeling good about that. I'm feeling happy about that. We're getting a nice sort of fall off on the left side of his face. There's definitely still shadows on that side, but I think that I'd rather prioritize getting a background light in there. Just looking at the background here and kind of like what's in frame. So I always like to get the reverb films in there. It gives a nice little pop of color, a nice contrast against the black wall. So my first thought is maybe trying to light that somehow. I'd love to use the RGB on this. However, because this is a black wall, black is like super non-reflective for obviously any type of light, but colored light especially. So regardless of what the color is, it's gonna be pretty hard to see. We're gonna bring it up to 5600 Kelvin. We're definitely gonna bring it up to 100% intensity. I'm probably just gonna set it on my desk for now. Just kind of position it up against my phone, and then we'll go back and see what it looks like. Might not look great, but we can adjust. All right, so that honestly looks pretty good. You can definitely see the light. My thought is that I want to focus on the logo more than the lower part of the wall. And you can clearly see from the frame that there's a hot spot in the lower part of the wall, just because that's kind of like the direction that the light's pointed. All right, I'm gonna grab one more grip head here. And then I'm hoping that we have some type of clamp that we could still make work. Okay, so Cardellini is going on. Okay, so don't want to be too tight, obviously, or else the glass thing or the plastic thing is going to crack. But that's looking pretty good. Do it like that. So I'm just bringing the Cardellini up there. And then I'm going to try and center it as much as possible. We're going to have to look back and see if the C-stand is in the shot. It is in the shot. I think I'm going to move the C-stand to the left a bit and then kind of angle the light a little bit more to the right so that it's hitting more at an angle as opposed to just straight on. So we're gonna bring it more this way, so it's definitely out of the shot. So you can see, like, it puts out a lot of nice light. You can definitely see a hot spot around there, but for the most part, I'll just show you a quick before and after. So this is the before, that's the after. All right, guys, so there it is. There's our 4 light setup with our Aputure MCs for an interview lighting setup. This is definitely something that's doable. Obviously, there's not a ton of intensity control, but we are in a pretty dark office right now with black walls, and so there's not that much light coming in otherwise. And this is a totally acceptable interview setup. I think I'm pretty happy with the lighting. That background light is a nice touch, but even if we just had these 3 MCs, 2 as a key and then 1 as a hair light, I think that would be pretty acceptable too. So yeah, overall, I think this is definitely a doable setup. We love the MCs. Like I said, we've never used them for an interview setup before, but if it came down to it and we had to, I think I would feel okay and I'd feel comfortable using them. So I think this is totally an acceptable and doable budget lighting setup for interviews. So I hope you guys liked this video. Hope you found it helpful, fun, informative, whatever it is that you are looking for on this channel and on this video. If you like this content, feel free to drop a like and drop a sub. But that's about it. So until next time, peace.